Good morning and welcome to Missoula Real Estate Today. This is Denny Bedard. Missoula Real Estate Today is presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate. Diane's been working with buyers and sellers in the Missoula market for over 25 years and shares her insights on the local housing market. Along with her trusted partners, Diane provides complete service for your real estate transaction and brings us guests who provide useful information on industry-related topics and trends. And now, Missoula Real Estate Today on News Talk, KGVO. Hello, and thank you so much for joining us on Missoula Real Estate Today this weekend. We sure appreciate you being here. Show presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate, who always provides us interesting and fun guests to visit with. Moving. If you're going to move to a different house, well, moving is packing for all intents and purposes, and packing is tough, and maybe you don't have to do it on your own. Our guest on Missoula Real Estate Today this week, Julie Browne. Julie is the owner of iPack here in Missoula. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
How did you become a professional packer?
Well, it comes from years and years of practice. So personally, my husband and I have moved maybe 13 to 15 times. So I have a lot of personal experience. But the true backstory is my husband's an orthopedic surgeon, and I'm in the medical field as well. But for most of our career, we served and did overseas mission work.
I see.
And so I packed for all of our medical mission trips. So sometimes I would pack and inventory 19 pallets worth of medical supplies. And I would have to know exactly where each item was located for us to have successful surgeries out in developing nations.
Yes.
So I really developed a packing and inventory system that I then just translated over, and I just do for regular people that are moving, that need some help.
Oh, the interesting places you have lived in. Can you talk about a few of them that really stand out in your mind as just amazing times in your life?
Yeah, I really can. We spent some time over in Malaysia, Borneo, and we actually took a longboat up across a lake and up a river, and we had to forage a couple of waterfalls. And we brought these medical supplies with us, and we held medical clinics in longhouses of the Iban tribe. And they are the historical headhunters. And so there would be like skulls hanging on the side. It was really fascinating. And the people were so lovely. We really appreciated getting to see just that part of the world that probably not many people have been able to see.
Yeah. So you kind of turned your not daily life, but you turned your lifestyle, the passion for that into a profession. Now, how did that all come to be when you decided that this was going to be your business?
Mm-hmm. Well, it all started really for me just last summer and fall, when I helped my in-laws transition from a home that they had lived in for decades. And they decided to move into senior living apartments. And making the decision was stressful enough, but once they made the decision, then they were just overwhelmed with the process.
Sure.
And so it was...
How many years had they been there?
They had been in their home for about 40 years.
That's a little accumulation, isn't it?
Yes, and moving is stressful anyways.
Sure.
But leaving a place that you love, that you have roots, it was very stressful for them. And so I just came alongside, and I found a lot of joy in just helping them decide what needed to go and what could stay and what could go to storage and what, so it was really a lot of fun. And the gentleman that I had hired to move them said, there really could be a niche for you here in Missoula, and you might think about packing, for other people just than family.
What is it about filling boxes with belongings that you find so gratifying?
Well, I really love to organize. That's really something that I really like to do. So I like to gather all of the kitchen supplies together, and sometimes I find kitchen items and gadgets in other places than the kitchen. And so it's really hard to use your kitchen items if they're not in the kitchen. So I like to kind of gather all of the kitchen stuff together and then put it all in a box, and I label each box with a color-coded numbering system, and I provide a Excel spreadsheet so that during the course of unpacking, if they know that they want to make pizza on their second night there, they would know exactly where they could find the pizza pan and the pizza cutter, just to get that done. And it's not as stressful in the unpacking if you know exactly where your items are.
This is Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate and our guest, Julie Browne, owner of iPack here in Missoula. What's the secret to packing perfection there, Julie? Or is there a secret?
I think the secret is decluttering. So there's just a lot of elbow grease up front. And if you really put in the elbow grease ahead of time, you will have superior packing success. And by that, I mean, go ahead and make yourself a calendar and go into each room in your house and decide and basically declutter. Clutter is defined as anything that is not loved or useful. And so as you just take each item, you can decide if you love it and if it's useful. And if it is one of those two things, then that is something that you should keep. If you find that is not loved or useful, then you can put it in one of 3 bins. There's a trash bin, there would be a donate bin, and then there would be a sell bin. And so you can just declutter each room, and that totally helps in the packing process, because then you're just packing stuff that is loved and useful.
I'll bet the loved is harder than the useful, because now you're getting into all kinds of, and you saw this, I'm sure, with your in-laws, your first real packing job. You're finding all these things with the sentimental value of, well, no, it hasn't useful. No, I haven't used that in 20 years, but now you're getting into the sentimentality of things.
And I think it is really important to keep that special memorabilia. That's what I call it. And so I put, I recommend just getting some of those tubs, and they're pretty inexpensive to get anywhere in town, and have a tub or two of your special memorabilia.
Yeah.
For my in-laws, the stuff that was special to them, I actually put in storage, where I took a photo of it and I labeled the box so that when they're thinking about the stuff that they have and may have left behind, they can look at the picture and remember that, in box storage number 11 is that special china that was my mother's.
Right, sure.
Because I think that is important. It's all going to, eventually there will come a time that it isn't as special, and it can be actually gifted to someone in the family.
What are some of the more challenging items that you've had to pack for people?
I would say I'm just about gonna in my next pack upcoming is an item that is all ceramic, and it is a tall stand that has special birds on it, and then it's a huge ceramic bowl that rests on top of it. And so I think that will be especially challenging with wrapping and strapping and really protecting that piece so that it doesn't get damaged in the transition.
I probably should have asked you this a few minutes ago, but I will catch up since this is since this is Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate's program. You must have made some contact with Diane and Windermere, and how did that relationship get started?
Well, part of my marketing strategy for my business was to target some of the real estate offices in town. And Diane is a very well-known, and she's been in the Valley for a long time, and she's really served the community very well with her expertise. And so I thought, well, she would be a person that I could reach out to and let her know about my business, because it's a challenge to become relevant. So
you got to get your name out.
You got to get your name out there. So I
can sell you an ad schedule right now if you need one. No, sorry.
Oh, that's so true. I'm sure. So I brought in a flyer and my business cards to Windermere, and I reached, and Diane's team then reached out to me, and I went in and spoke at their meeting on a Tuesday morning. So it worked out really great.
Very nice. Well, let's go through a little bit of the process you do with iPack. Somebody hires you and your services. So kind of a few steps anyway. You have to do a preview of everything, right? Which I assume leads to an estimate.
That's exactly right. I go into my client or pending client's home, and I look in their cupboards, and I look under beds and all the drawers, and I try to figure out how much packing supplies I will need and the size of boxes and how much fragile items there are that really need that special care. And then I also estimate how much time it's going to take me to do each room. So I present my clients with an estimate, and then they can decide exactly how they want to use my time. Some people like me to. I've just gone in and packed all the fragile items, and I've also and the kitchen items, and I give people the opportunity to not have me come on moving day, which is all of the last minute packing stuff, like getting the mattresses in the mattress bags. And, there's always loose ends on moving day. And some people opt to have me come. Some people have then asked me to come and unpack them, like come and unpack my kitchen for me and get me settled. And I love to do that part because that has a lot to do with organizing. So
Not to interrupt you here, but on the list of questions, down near the bottom, I put, have you ever thought of starting I Unpack? after you move.
After you move.
Yeah, that ought to be a link on your website,
I tell
Julie.
you, I ought to do that.
I'm sorry.
Advertise that. That's perfect, though.
Yeah, I interrupted your answer. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you have to do an awful lot of prep work before the move.
Yes, and I use my time wisely so that I'm not wasting my clients' money, because that's important to me. Sure. is being as cost effective as I can, take good care of their items, but also not dilly dally around and waste their money. So I really like to let my clients I give them full disclosure, and then they decide how they want to spend their money on my time.
Yeah, and I think this is the answer that I kind of stepped on there, but customers do have options in terms of how much packing materials they have to provide. It can be all or none at all. Right?
For instance, I love to use boxes that they have on hand, but I also go and I do the legwork and I pick up boxes and the bubble wrap and the paper wrap and the packing material that I like to use so that I can ensure their items are safe. So I do that part of it, and I like to, because it just helps having boxes of uniform size on the loading part. It takes less time to build a wall of boxes that are of uniform size than having to have a puzzle piece.
The dimension factor.
Yes, in the truck. So, I try to kind of help in all aspects of the move.
Follow up and accountability. And you mentioned this early in the program, too. You have sheets or charts with a lot of colored dots, one of which I can see over there on the counter. It sort of looks like a game of Twister with, put right elbow on blue.
Right.
But I want to know what is where, right, as the customer.
That's exactly.
And you have a system that helps with that.
I do. Part of my process is as I'm packing, I put together an inventory. So I number a box and I color code it. Say, for instance, the kitchen is going to be all an orange dot or an orange piece of tape on their label. And then not only will the movers carry each box that has an orange dot on it to the kitchen so that you are not having to carry the boxes. If they dump them all in the garage, then you would be having to haul the box to the kitchen. So if I can make it easy for the unloaders by having a key that tells them what room that box is going to, and it's clearly marked on the box, then the client can decide which box is most important to unpack. Some boxes need to be unpacked right away. For instance, bedding, so that they can sleep in their bed the very first night. So they'll know that the master bedroom is all going to be in pink, and in box number 32 is all of the linens that I had just taken off that bed the morning of the move. So they can just go to that box and unpack it and make their bed and go to bed that first night in their home.
As far as your guarantees and goals and promises, commitment, what have you, I was thinking about, we moved to Missoula from the Bitterroot Valley about 16 months ago, but we weren't quite sure where we were going to move to, but we had a pretty good idea that, this is the spring we're going to do this. And so we had packed a number of boxes ahead of time. And in this case, because we were doing it in the winter months, it was, spring and summer apparel and just, maybe some outdoor sporting equipment and things like that. But I think back and go, man, even the time that consumed was staggering. So not only to me, what you do at iPack is you're providing peace of mind, obviously, because you're very good at this, but the amount of time that you're saving somebody, it's phenomenal. Right. Looking back on our own personal experiences of us pretty much, packing the boxes on our own.
Well, time is a very precious commodity these days. It seems like there is never enough time, and we're always racing the clock and tending to the tyranny of the urgent. And I just helped a gal move from Missoula to Billings, and I packed for her that week before she moved. And then she had time to have lunch with her best friends and to meet with people and say goodbyes, rather than having the stress of packing all the boxes and the chaos that brings. And she just thanked me endlessly for helping her kind of free up her time for that week before moving, because it was hard leaving her friends.
Sure.
And it really gave her some time to run errands and say goodbye and go to her favorite restaurants. And
oh, yeah, that's great. That's rewarding for you. It's Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate, and our guest this week, Julie Browne, owner of iPack here in Missoula. And Julie, just to make it clear, you're not a moving company.
That's right.
But you can refer movers. What do you look for in a moving company? Because your reputation is at stake in that regard too. You've got to be a little bit selective and do your homework. What are you looking for in a mover that you recommend to somebody?
So in a mover that I recommend, I ask my clients to call a number of them. I have several that I recommend. And I always say, it's really important to check their response time. If you call and leave a message and you don't hear back from them within 24 hours, then, that's really a good thing to know, because I think communication in a move is key. You need to be able to confirm and really just talk to people and make sure that they're going to be there when you scheduled them and all that kind of stuff. And if you have a hard time getting a hold of a moving company, that might not be a good fit for you. And I also look for moving companies that I know are going to care for the boxes that I have just labored over. They're going to, that they will take good care of the items that I have just spent a long time packing.
Have your experiences been pretty good overall? You don't have to mention any names if you don't want to. If you can, feel free to do so. But have you been pretty happy with the climate of that industry in Missoula? I mean, as far as moving companies, or are we pretty good, or could we be better?
I think that Missoula has many options, and I have found a handful that I feel very comfortable referring my clients to. I kind of do a premium pack, and so I kind of like the premium movers that are also reasonably priced, because I think saving money and being cost effective is also a good gift to your clients as well.
So iPack has done all the packing, and it's time to go. Are you there when the movers come, or can you be? Or do you try to be? How does that figure in?
Well, I probably prefer to be there. I give my clients that option. That's one of the options in the estimate. If they choose to have me not there, it's all up to them and how they want to spend their money. I prefer to be there, because then I can go to the loaders, to the guys that are loading, and say, this piece right here is extremely fragile. Please do not bounce these boxes down that set of stairs. they need to be hand carried, or this piece is exceptionally heavy. I one time had to move a stone Buddha head, and it was a huge and very heavy piece. And so I took a lot of time to wrap and pad, and so just coming up with kind of that creative way to get a very heavy weighted Buddha head down some steps and then up some steps.
If I hired iPack, I acknowledge you mentioned there's going to be an extra charge for that amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
If you want you there during the move, I can't imagine you not being there.
I know. I like to be there.
You've gone this far. Don't let go of my hand,
Yeah,
Julie.
please.
Stay with me.
And I'm not ready to relinquish control. I think I might be a little bit of a control freak because I work solo because I like to be the one that, I like to be the one packing because it's my business and I just like to make sure it's done right and my way. So right now I'm working solo, which is a little bit more, it takes me a little bit longer to pack up a house. But it also, I make sure that it's done right, and I can really guarantee that the fragiles are going to be safe.
This is Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate, and our guest, Julie Browne, owner of iPack here in Missoula. Julie, there's probably no such thing as an average job. I mean, I picture this taking, I don't know, a few hours to a few days to everything in between.
Mm-hmm. That's right. It truly depends on the amount of bedrooms a home is, the amount of items that are in a cupboard or whatever. I've actually, for instance, I packed a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home that actually was 2 homes into one. So there was there was over 100 boxes, maybe even 120 that I packed, and that takes a lot of time because I like to make sure that it's all the box is extremely full so that it won't crush and all that kind of stuff. But yes, every move that I've done, no two have been the same. I really I was really pleased. I helped just organize and pack 2 rooms in a home that was going on the market on May 1st. And so I went in and I took care of these 2 rooms. They called them crap rooms just because it had been kind of the catch-all.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so I went in and I organized, and then I packed up the boxes and got them all staged in the garage for moving eventually. And the home was put on the market, and it sold in 3 days.
Now, why just the 2 rooms? Was everything else done?
Everything else the client was going to take care of, But there's just some things that people just can't wrap their mind around tackling.
Yeah.
And I am not afraid of a lot of boxes or a lot of, I am not afraid to just jump in and get started box by box, item by item, and get it taken care of. But some people really and truly, they've done the kitchen, they've done the master bedroom.
Right.
But the catch-all rooms are just too full, and it's too overwhelming. And it doesn't overwhelm me. And I think that is very helpful in just kind of getting started.
So you've come in, you've done the walkthrough, you've done a preview, and you give an estimate, and owners say, okay, let's go. Does a homeowner have to be there with you when you're doing the packing process?
No, they really don't. And I think that they like to be there, honestly, right at the beginning. And so they like to kind of be there while I first get started so that they can kind of see how I do stuff.
Exactly.
And then by 2 days in, they're pretty much, I am out of here. I'm going to go and do some of my errands and get some of my own stuff done.
Well, yeah, that's because they hired you to save time, and now they're not saving time because they're constantly looking over your shoulder, which you seem so tactful and so diplomatic. I'm sure you find ways around that, but I'm sure it happens all the time too.
Yes, and I do like to leave, like, for their very special items that they have pointed out, like, this is very special to me. This was my great grandmother's, and it's very fragile. I like to, like, wrap and package it, and then I show them. I leave that box open. I don't seal it up, and I let them see how I have packed it so they can have peace of mind,
very good,
knowing that it's not going to get jiggled and broken during the transport stage of the move.
A special thank you to some of Diane Beck's marketing partners here on Missoula Real Estate Today. That is Rob Fleming with Mann Mortgage, Miles Link from Opportunity Bank of Montana, and Carol Blodgett from MakeItMissoula.com. We're visiting with Julie Browne, owner of iPack here in Missoula. How about success stories, Julie, or any jobs? You mentioned a couple of big ceramic pieces that you were so careful with. Anything else stand out that has been especially gratifying since you've started iPack?
Right. Well, I mentioned that house that sold like in 3 days
Yes.
after we just really kind of helped get it organized.
Yeah.
I think that's a good success story. And I guess I just I did help another client. They weren't moving anywhere, but they had a bunch of stuff in storage that they didn't even know what was in the boxes.
Oh.
And so I got a lot of satisfaction out of going into these 2 rooms and opening every box, and I would take pictures of the items, and so I developed a picture inventory, so that they would know what china pattern was in that box.
Oh, those are great.
And so I could tell them that in box number S49 is some Christmas china, and I gave them a picture inventory so that they could know what they had in storage, because I think that's the hardest part, is having items and not really knowing where they are. I think that that organizing that storage room really, at the end, I just couldn't help but take a couple pictures because I thought it looked so great.
It being a real estate show, we've been focusing primarily on moving from a house to another house, of course, but what about businesses that are relocating? Have you had any experience with that yet with iPack?
At this time, I have not had any. I have not had any opportunity to help.
You'd entertain it, though.
But I sure would entertain it. I would love to undertake that project.
Yeah, because businesses do. Businesses move from one location to another here in Missoula. Maybe they need a bigger spot, or the lease ran out, or whatever. There's going to be opportunity for that. So,
and I think that they would really appreciate my inventory system, because in a business you would never, you can't really predict what item you might need, and so they could find any item. They would know exactly where all of their items were and can access it.
Do you have enough different colored dots, or are you going to have to take on some new colors, or are you good there?
Well, what I do is, once I run out of my single colored dots, then I start double coloring. So I'll put like an orange and a pink together, and that's another room. So then I double color.
Well, yeah.
I haven't ever had to triple color.
That's smart. Okay, no triple colors yet.
No triple colors.
Excuse me. Well, believe it or not, Julie, we are almost out of time here on Missoula Real Estate Today. Is there anything that we have? We'll get to contact information in a second here, but is there anything that we have missed that you wanted folks to know about as far as iPack?
Well, I guess a couple things. My goal in my business is to really relieve some of the moving stress.
Sure.
Because it's just really, people move for all sorts of reasons. Some are very exciting and very happy, and others might be sad or tragic reasons that people are moving. And so I really like to really build relationship with my client and help them through that process. And if they're sad, just comfort them, and if they're happy, then be excited with them. So I think that I really look at my business as an extension of the ministry that I've done my whole life.
How do we find out more and contact iPack and all of that?
Well, I have a website, which is www.ipackyoumove.com, and U is just the letter U.
Gotcha.
So ipackyoumove.com, and my Gmail address is ipack.youmove@gmail.com, and of course my phone number is 406-270-7988.
Great job. It's been wonderful having you on Missoula Real Estate Today.
Well, thank you so much for your time and great questions, and it's been great visiting with you. And thank you to Diane for inviting me.
Thank you for listening to Missoula Real Estate Today. We hope you found this morning's information to be helpful. If you have any suggested topics for any future Missoula Real Estate Today programs, or any questions about buying or selling, contact Diane Beck with Windermere Real Estate. Email DianeBeck@Realtor.com or visit her website, homesinmissoula.com. We'll see you next time on Missoula Real Estate Today.